In the name of God, the compassionate, the merciful. Finally, we go to the last discussion of the book, which says the final state of second language acquisition. The easiest part of this chapter, this book, actually, this is this discussion, the final state of second language acquisition. As I already told you, the second language acquisition has got so many different types of final states. The first language acquisition has got only one final state. Okay, let us see what is the result. The final state of second language acquisition varies from one person to another person, from one person to another person, from one country to another country, from one city to another city, from one individual with one field of study to another individual with different type of study. What does it mean? Not everybody actually learns a second language in its totality. There are so many people actually who begin their second language, but they don't go to the last lines of second language acquisition. Okay? Among your older students of universities, you can find people with different types of language backgrounds as far as the English is concerned. Some are very good, but many people are so poor. Many people are in the middle of their way, etc., etc. Okay, it's like that. Anyway, this part actually wants to talk about these variations about the final state of language acquisition. Not everybody is going to, in fact, develop the second language to its full or to its entirety, to its full form. Well, so the discussion on page 238 actually goes like this, and it continues on page 239. And easy. So you are supposed to read all these lines by yourselves and understand that there are so many things which are in fact nice for you to understand. So page 238 and 239. I'm not gonna in fact bore you with so many things, simple things. Okay, but when actually you go to page 240, actually you can see that in fact there are some three types of suggestions for teachers of English. Okay, let us see what is that. Well, maybe I'm gonna begin with page 240, but saying that line 2. Chomsky's general ideas were used as a club to squash the behavioristic audiolingual method at various times. You remember when they wanted to say that audiolingualism has got problems, they actually used Chomsky's ideas at that time, years ago, okay? Years ago. So they used it as a kind of, let's say, club. Of course, this is a fist, not a club. A kind of club to, in fact, which is going to squash the behavioristic audiolingual method of language acquisition. Okay? Chomsky actually said no to audiolingualism at that time. Okay? But these principles, line 3, are not merely inadequate, but probably misconceived. Okay? What does it mean? For a generation, look, line 1, 2, 3, 4. Language teaching has, however, been concerned with a language. Okay? You know, up to here we said that yes, language acquisition is something like, in fact, I language. But there's one problem here. There's one problem here. Language teachers are not concerned with I language. Okay? We are not teaching the students the grammar of the language. We are not teaching the vocabulary of language, like, let's say, explicit teaching of vocabulary. Okay? Why? Because you already know that Chomskyan approach is good, but not used in language acquisition. The second language acquisition. Why? Because everybody develops his second language similarly to their first language. So we are not going to teach Chomskyan linguistics at all. Why? Simply because it is so automatic. Simply because it is so automatic. What do? We go and work with other things other than Chomskyan. So we have to understand Chomskyan linguistics, which is so important for the language teacher, but we are not going to, in fact, work with those things that are automatically developed. We work with those types of things which are going to be taught. What are they? I language, not E language, okay? So we go and, let's say, teach other things than the grammar of English, okay? Like discourse. We teach the students the discourse of English. We teach the pragmatics of English. Pragmatics and discourse are important to the language teacher, okay? So communicative approaches actually concentrate on these E-language approaches, okay? Which are, in fact, based on discourse analysis, based on pragmatics, etc. So there's something very clearly, in fact, which is something like this. Chomskyan linguistics is good for us to know, to grasp. But Chomskyan linguistics is not good for teaching purposes. Nobody goes to teach the grammar. Nobody goes to teach pronunciation. Nobody goes to teach vocabulary in the way that Chomsky says develops. Okay? Why? Because it develops automatically. Vocabulary develops automatically, pronunciation develops automatically, grammar develops automatically. So what is the use of this? Well, the use of a good teacher is something like this. The use of a good teacher is something like this. He or she guides the students with other things than Chomskyan grammar and concentrates on other things like discourse and pragmatics, which you are going to study for your next semester, maybe with me, 95% with me, okay? Discourse and pragmatics. Anyway, remember, I am repeating in the third time, for the third time. Well, Chomskyan linguistics is important for the teacher to know. And it is important for the teacher not to work for the students. Nobody goes and takes a piece of chalk to say, if you want to have something like conditionals type 1 and 2 and 3, please take good care of what I say. Please listen to what I say. No, nobody says something like this, okay? Because we are not working with the grammar translation method, okay? So what do we work with? We work with communicative approaches, different types of communicative approaches to language teaching, which are all centered on E-language approaches, not I-language approaches. Chomskyan is an I-language approach, you remember, and non-Chomskyan approaches like language teaching is E-language approach. You remember at the beginning of this semester, okay, maybe it was late winter, I actually told you something like this at that time. Anyway, so This page 240 is so important for you. Up to here, we in fact defended Chomskyan linguistics. On page 240, we say it is good, but not for language teachers. It is good only for L1, okay? The development of L1. It is good for the development of L2. Again, it is important. But it is not important for the teaching purposes. We actually work with the grammars and functions in a way that are present in the good books of, in fact, teaching English, like, let's say, I don't know, like top notch, like, let's say, other books like this, like Summit, etc., etc. These books actually concentrate on communicative approaches, but don't teach anything like Chomskyan linguistics. So page 240 must be, in fact, studied in detail. So it says that something like this: for the generation, language teaching has, however, been concerned with ill language and pragmatic competence rather than I language and linguistic competence. They work with pragmatic competence. Well, we are going to talk about pragmatics and discourse next semester. Okay. Why communication has been the keyword. Okay. Keyword. So by communication, we mean communicative approaches are used. Why? Because we work with communication. And task. Well, task-based teaching. Okay. Well, hence, a theory based solidly on I language concerned primarily with syntax, grammar, and disdained communication as a derived function of language has little to offer. So we work with communication, but we have to understand Chomskyan linguistics in its full form, in its entirety. We understand it. Maybe when there's an entrance exam for your PhD in Iran or somewhere else, they ask, what is the significance of Chomskyan linguistics in the second language? Okay, your answer must be something like this: we have to understand it, but we are not going to, in fact, apply it in our classrooms. Okay, we have to understand what things are important, what things are not important. I will give you one other example. Well, a good language institute in Iran, a good language institute in Iraq, especially in different cities, anyway. A good, in fact, language institute only works with communicative approaches, not with grammar approaches. So simply you go to your classroom and don't say anything about the grammar. Well, this is third person singular. No, you don't need it. This is past tense. You don't need it. This is conditional type 1. You don't need it. Okay? What do? You simply, in fact, play a kind of clip, play a kind of... you play a kind of, let's say, thing to say that, and the students just listen to it, and automatically, according to Chomskyan linguistics, they develop it like that. Thank you very much. There's a telephone call. I'm going to, in fact, continue with this page maybe on my next presentation. Okay? Thank you very much.